Hey Michael, where are we today?
Holley.
What's up you guys? We are in Bowling Green, Kentucky today to give you guys a behind the scenes look at the Holley headquarters.
Do you ever wonder how Holley came to be the behemoth that we know of it today? Holley's history dates back as far as 1896 with brothers George and Earl Holley. What you probably didn't know is that the brothers actually started out with car manufacturing themselves. Here is our tour guide Steve to give you more information on how Holley became what we know it as today.
It was in 1903. Well, obviously in 1903, Henry Ford started building cars. So Henry Ford saw competition, and he basically told George and Earl Holley, hey, why don't you guys come to Detroit, Michigan and work for me and build my carburetors for these new Model Ts I'm going to come out with. So then Holley said, okay. And so they left everything behind in Pennsylvania, quit their job of building cars and motors, and went to work for Henry Ford, and that's when they started building carburetors, which what is Holley is known for is the Holley carburetors. So yeah, this is their short little run of vehicles they built. Like I said, the three-wheel one, the motorette here, and then supposedly that motorcycle. But again, that's never been found. It's just a story. But yeah, they started building carburetors, and the rest is history. Yeah. They were mostly in Detroit, Michigan up until I think 52, and then they moved here to Bowling Green, Kentucky. And then obviously they started branching out, and Holley did other things, you know, fuel systems. And now over 70 different companies. Basically the way to look at Holley now is Holley offers everything for a car except for the internals of the motor. So now you can get wheels from us, brakes from us now with bare brakes. You can get gas tanks, you can get radiators, body panels, sheet metal stuff now.
Oh, we know.
So yeah, Holley basically does everything but the internals of the motor. Tools in here, we do Holley carburetors, all the carburetors, all the carburetor brands. And we do Sniper in here. So like I said, not all the companies are in here. The other biggest one is MSD, which is down in El Paso. They do Race Pack, Excel, Mallory. They do all the smart wire coil stuff there. Basically, like they do all ignition and data stuff over there.
But this is the original building from when?
About 52, I think it is. 52,
wow.
53.
Is this where they do testing and all that?
Some stuff.
As you'll see later in the video, there are many facilities here in Bowling Green that Holley operates. But first, we're starting out in the manufacturing plant where they build out all the carburetors and do a ton of CNC work.
The body, they'll load up about 20 of them, and then the robot will basically pick them up, bring them over here, and then machine all the little holes that need to be machined out.
Wow.
They'll load about whatever 20 base plates in there. It'll pick it up, move it over there, and you can watch it get drilled out and everything. Kind of hard to see, but raw, nasty casted manifold after it gets casted, and then once it gets casted, they basically get over here, and then they'll put them in the machine, and they'll start machining them all out. They'll make them all nice and pretty. Let me see if I can go find one. So you can see after it's been machined right now, it's all clean. So basically that's what these two machines do.
Wow.
Unfortunately, we're such a big company, it just depends on what the product is. So some days it may be carburetor intake manifolds, some day maybe LS high rams. It's just whatever the rotation is for the next product. CNC machines, they start off with raw stock of aluminum and then basically make it into a meter and block. You can see it's just like artwork. I mean, it's just beautiful meter and block. But that's what it started out life as.
That's cool.
So these are just raw cast blocks here. You can load it in the machine and you just start pumping them out. Then we got a whole bunch of them. These are high ram manifolds. This is all YN intake manifolds. Look like they're all machined, ready to go. The shipping. Same with these. Like I said, these are all high rams. This is the cathedral port for an LS1. So again, they'll load up whatever raw stock, put in the machine, and get machined. Basically the master wall of all the main body of the carburetors. So if we build a certain carburetor and there is a issue where someone says the needle and seat is not correct, or the passageway is not correct, we can go back to one of the original main bodies from the 1980s, 70s, 60s, 50s, and pull the original one and compare it to the one that, you know, is on the line. We can QC it, make sure the quality control is there. So again, this is the main body of your carburetor. It's already been machined and everything down there you saw. It gets sent over here. Basically, they have an assembly line. A person will sit here and they'll put in the, you know, Venturis, they'll put in the little washers, and they'll just keep going down the line. This person looks like they put in all the little, it's called speed screws and all that stuff, all the linkages, stroke linkages. And they'll just keep going down the line. So, until it's fully finished down to the very end.
Those are popular.
Yeah, these are brawler carburetors. Same thing like the Holley assembly line. This is all the demon stuff right here, and you can see on the table, they got it all laid out. They'll just basically pick up a part and start assembling the assembly line. Shafts, needle and seats are done over here. The pump assemblies are done over here. Like I said, there's just a little team of people in here, and they just get stuff together. I mean, look at all the needle and seats in here. I mean, this stuff is tiny, tiny. Look at that. Look at the little needle and seat. It's tiny, tiny. Same thing is way over there is where the machine on the tops for these. And same thing, kind of like that metering block. It starts off as raw casting. We get it machined, and we have it anodized. Once it's anodized, and it comes over here. And basically, there's a group of people here that just starts assembling fuel pumps. Basically, they just assemble them all right here, put them in the white boxes, and boom, puts them on a pallet. It goes to the distribution center. Down here, we got some quick fuel stuff. Same thing like the Holley carburetors. There's a whole little assembly line of people for quick fuel. One cool thing with quick fuel is those little metering blocks that we saw. Quick fuel does different colors for different fuel systems. So if you have a red quick fuel metering block, it's for gasoline. If you have a blue one, it's for methanol alcohol. If you have a green quick fuel metering block, it is for E85. Yeah. So that's a cool thing with that quick fuel though, with their little metering blocks. But run stand engines. So basically, if we have a problem or we need to check something, we can go out to the lab here and we can pick out a small block Vortec. We can pick out a Ford. We can pick out an LS motor. We can pick out an LT motor. But basically, this gives us a chance to grab a carburetor or grab a motor and test fit things, whether it's changing carburetors, putting a sniper on, changing headers. This kind of gives us the flexibility to try out a bunch of different motors. This is old school tooling, but I mean, this is basically where they assemble all the little power valves. They basically grab all the parts, put them together, stamp them in there, the rings, and then I don't have a done product, but I'll show you a done product if I have one. I guess I don't have one. Oh, here. So that's what it looks like when it's finally fully assembled.
Wow.
Yep. Repair. So basically, when you have a sniper EFI and you've got a problem supposedly, they'll come in here and they'll check it all and test it and rebuild it for you. So they do rebuilds here, or they do, like I said, if you got an issue, they can check it all here. We're on the back side of the carburetors. So once the carburetor is fully assembled down the assembly line, whether it's Holley here, Demon here, or Quick Fuel down there, it goes over here to this basically flow test. They'll put it on the stand and they'll flow test it. They'll use different solvents that are basically the same equivalent as gasoline, and they can flow test it, make sure it all works, make sure it all functions correctly. So like right now they're doing a line of, looks like it's Holley carburetors right now. So that's what that is. I think these have all been done, flow tested. Well, they're ready here to go. Got a little mix of everything, Holley, Demon, Brawler. Just like carburetors, Sniper has its own assembly line. Same thing with a Sniper. You start off with the main body of the Sniper. You got one person over here will put in the, it looks like they put in the injectors. One person will put in, you know, whatever the linkages, the throttle body, the throttle plates in them. Basically just like a carburetor, it goes down a whole assembly line.
Not made in China.
Nope. Main body put together, but obviously they put the linkages in, put the shafts in, but just they'll grab this thing, like I said, they glue down that line. They'll put the injectors in here, Injectors get hidden behind a cover, so you won't ever see the injectors. These are just the regular Q-Jet ones. But yeah, they'll basically go down the assembly line, put them together, and stick them on the racks. And it's just like I said, it's just a little assembly line. One person puts shafts in, one puts the IAC in, one person puts the harnesses in, little screws. Earl's fittings. So when you buy Earl's AEN fittings, they're all made right here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So what does it start off as? It starts off as is a piece of raw stock. So this is raw stock, and you can see the Earl's logo engraved in it. So we'll grab this raw stock, we're gonna stick it in this machine here, and it's the length of this whole thing, and then basically it goes in there and basically gets fed and chopped up and machined into little fittings. Yeah. So let's walk down here and show you guys. Example, they'll go down the line and then basically those things will just chop up and make different fittings. Obviously this is a cap to something, but basically that's what it's going to do. It's going to make all your AN fittings, whether it's a -6, -8, -10. It's just going to depend on the stock size, but that's what these machines do. It's pretty freaking cool.
We also got to see a few behind the scenes looks at things we weren't able to film. And that wraps our first stop on the Holley tour. Now it's time to head to our next stop.
We were just at the main facility where they do a lot of the manufacturing. So Josh is a mechanic and he sees all sorts of stuff. What did you think?
Quite impressed, because we didn't really think that they made it all there. Go figure.
Especially the
It
carburetors.
does make a lot. They make everything there. Carbs, all the throttle bodies. It's pretty impressive. Intakes.
A ton of R&D that we got to see that we couldn't film, but
Yeah.
they've got a lot of cool stuff.
They got more stuff coming, and you got to stay ahead of the game.
I will say that we got to see some of the R&D, which was really cool. Of course, we couldn't film it, but I would just say it's cool.
As I mentioned earlier in this video, Holley has many facilities right here in Bowling Green, and they are not exactly walking distance. So we hopped in the car and we headed over to a different facility where they handle all of the exhaust, and we're gonna take you guys in to see it.
So this is where all exhaust systems are built. So if you have a Hooker exhaust, Flowmaster or Dynan, everything is built here. All the exhaust systems come in as raw stock. That's raw stock right there, it's just straight pipe. And then a lot of our machines do what's called mandrel bent tubing. So when you go to an exhaust shop and you go to like a mom and pop shop and you ask to have a piece of exhaust bent, say it's a 3-inch piece of exhaust and you wanted to make a 90-degree bend, well, they use a hydraulic ram that basically presses into the pipe and it gets to bend that contour. Well, that's called compression bend. So the pipe goes from 3-inch to 2.5 to 3-inch. But when you have the inconsistency of 3-inch to 2.5 to 3-inch, it slows down the exhaust gas velocity, robbing you of horsepower and torque. So all these machines have this, I call it the slinky. It's that bronze piece right there. It's basically like a slinky. As it gets bent, it goes through the contour of the pipe, keeping it from getting crushed. So you get a true 3-inch exhaust during the bend. And what that does, it's going to help basically the airflow from the exhaust system. It's going to help it run a lot cooler. You pick up more horsepower and more torque because there's no restriction. You get the terminology free-flowing exhaust. It's like I said, a big slinky. They go through the machine right there. There's all the dies, and it basically bends that contour. And what I mean by that contour, here you go, perfect example. You can see it stays 3-inch, 3-inch, and 3-inch. Where a compression bend, this section here would have been crushed down to 2.5. So again, when you have less restriction, it's going to mean more horsepower, more torque, and obviously it's going to help the exhaust, the motor run a lot cooler. So these are all mandrel bent tubing. Again, have no clue what they're building, but one day it might be a batch of Dynan stuff, might be a batch of Flowmaster, a batch of Hooker Blackheart. So yeah, that's kind of what they do over here. Individuals in there, they'll start and grab an exhaust piece, and they're going to have to weld on all the hangers. They're going to have to weld on certain pieces. Basically that's what they do in those welding shacks.
And do they do the headers here as well?
Yep. So right now, it looks like they're doing all exhaust systems. Nobody's really working on headers right now. So obviously someone pulled the masters out because they're probably bending them up in there, or they bent them up over there. Now they're checking them all to make sure that they're all crushed in the correct spaces. But those are all the masters. I lied. There's some headers right now getting made. You can see they just finished up a batch of the 2015 through 20 Ford F100s with the 5.0 Coyotes. And when a lot of our exhaust systems, especially on new cars, they're all cat back. And when they're cat back exhaust systems, you don't avoid warranty and you won't avoid emissions. So that's a big thing with a lot of our exhaust companies. We have nothing that's going to avoid emissions. Those are all individual pieces that once you take all those individual pieces that were mandrel bent over there, those all weld together make this beautiful art piece. This is a looks like it's a hooker, yeah, hooker Blackheart header. You can see they're nicely TIG welded. They're basically all ready to kind of go. They still got to finish the flange section of it. Still got to finish welding down here, but basically that's what all those individual pieces will make, is the main layout of the header. The big difference between like a Flowmaster and a MagnaFlow is a MagnaFlow is a glass pack muffler. So basically what it means is the glass pack muffler has got this basically packer material. It's kind of like insulation. The more you put insulation in it, the more it's going to dampen the sound, the more quieter it's going to be. The less material inside of it, the more aggressive it's going to be. The problem with that packing material, you get all that moisture and condensation, especially from new motors. It soaks it up like a big sponge, and it basically rots it out. When you rot out a glass pack muffler, the packing material will start coming out the exhaust tailpipe, and you get the terminology, my muffler blew out, because it's getting louder because all that pack material rotted out, fell out. Well, a Flowmaster is all hollow inside. There is no packing material. A Flowmaster basically has all these deflection plates and basically uses sound waves. So when the flow comes into a Flowmaster, it'll bounce off the walls, hit each other and cancel out sound. Bounce off the walls, hit each other and cancel out sound. When the case is bigger, there's more room in there for self-sound cancellation, so it's gonna be more quieter. When you get a really short Flowmaster, there's less room for sound cancellation, so it's gonna be more aggressive. That's the big bonus of a Flowmaster, is there's no packing material to rot out the muffler. So, and then you kind of get more of a hollow, kind of deeper chamber sound with a Flowmaster versus a packed material muffler. You don't get that. So that's a big difference between a glass pack muffler and a Flowmaster. So on Flowmaster, we have different sound levels. We have what's called a Force 2 system, which is going to be a bigger case muffler, which is going to be a little bit more quieter, but still aggressive over factory. Then you have what's called American Thunder, which is your traditional nice deep rumble Flowmaster. And then if you want to go full blown wild and piss off all your neighbors, you go with the Outlaw system, which is going to be a really short case muffler.
That's we always used to run the Super 10.
Yeah, Super 10. That's basically what's in the Outlaw. Yeah. And so it's going to be just be wildly loud. So, and I say not loud, it's aggressive, I call it. These are all the masters for every single exhaust system. So again, if you have your driver's side front pipe that's hitting the floorboard on your 2001 Ford F-150, we can go pull it, find it, and then check it into the master and make sure that there's not a manufacturing problem.
And that pretty much sums it up for this facility.
We are now headed to the warehouse and we're gonna take a tour of that, and I hear it's crazy, like absolutely nuts. So we're gonna go check it out.
Basically everything that is built by or built from a Holley company goes to this facility to get stored, and basically once you place an order, it comes out of this building. So this thing is ginormous.
This is where dreams are made.
Picker, whether it could be someone on a shopping cart, it could be someone on a forklift, but pretty much they get a order and they have to go to whatever number aisle it is and then figure out what SKU number up there, and then they can pull the part. Once everything gets pulled, it gets filtered into this little shopping cart area, I want to call it, and basically all those people there will pack it all with packing material, box it all up, and then once it's boxed, it goes over to here to shipping, and then it gets sent out to you, customer.
This place was massive. They actually had just added on to this facility as well to accommodate more parts coming in. And you know we couldn't leave empty-handed, so while we were here, we went ahead and picked up some parts of our own.
All right, you guys, that was the Holley tour. What did you think?
They have a lot more than you realize.
Yes.
Super cool.
A lot more.
Big thanks to Steve for letting us check out everything and see what all they do there.
So we are on the road headed back to Nashville, and we are loaded down because we are bringing home a few parts for ourselves, some for Josh's build and some for Michael's build. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was Baby Approved Rides, and we'll catch you next time.